Chapter 16. Patrick. When Saturday rolls around, I find myself waking earlier than normal. Piper will be arriving at 10 a.m., and I want to make sure that I've prepared the perfect lunch for us. After showering and donning a blue t-shirt that is casual but brings out the color of my eyes, I head into the kitchen to put on a pot of coffee. While it percolates, filling the air with its heavenly scent, I grab the groceries I picked up the night before and the picnic basket that Em and I use every time we lunch in the park. It's a little beat up, but well-loved, and still sturdy enough to get the job done. I place a few ice packs on the bottom to keep the cheesecake cold. Lunch doesn't always come with dessert, but it will today, and even though I'm not sure that Amelia will eat cheesecake, I throw a few Oreos in for her. I'm fairly certain that Piper will. I don't know why, but there's something about cheesecake that feels romantic to me. Once the dessert is in, I add the meat, cheese, and crackers. Amelia and I generally have PB&Js, but today we are elevating our palate. I add a juice box for Amelia and some sparkling cider for Piper and me. No more alcohol for that one. And then I put in the napkins. Finally, I add the red rose I bought for Piper and close the lid. The blanket we'll sit on gets placed on top, and then I turn to the task of making breakfast. 10 minutes later, I sit down to my bacon, eggs, toast, and coffee, and just as I'm finishing, Amelia shuffles in. Her hair poofs out around her head like a rat crawled in it at night and made a nest. I don't know what that girl does in her sleep, but it's like this almost every day. "Morning, Em. Did you sleep okay?" She yawns and rubs sleep from her eyes.
"I guess so, but I still feel tired."
"Me too." But I don't tell her it's because I was up way too late last night thinking about spending the day with Piper. "But I bet you'll feel better after you eat some breakfast. Do you want toast and eggs?" She scrunches her nose and whips her head from side to side.
"Can I just have cereal?"
I sigh and shake my head. No matter what I do, I can't get this girl to try new foods. She is like an old woman set in her ways. I can only hope she'll grow out of it before it stunts her growth too badly. "Do you want Lucky Charms or Mini Wheats today?" I smile when I say Mini Wheats in hopes that she'll choose that one, as it's at least a little healthier. But she's not buying it today.
"Lucky Charms, please,"
she says, as she climbs onto a bar stool. Well, at least she said please. I take my plate to the sink and fill her bowl. Then I top off my coffee, mainly so I have something to do while she eats. But you can never have too much coffee. When her cereal is all gone, she sets down her spoon and looks up at me.
"When is our picnic going to be?"
"We'll head to the park in a couple of hours. My friend Piper is coming with us."
"The one from game night and the carnival?"
"That's the one." I'm surprised she remembered, but I shouldn't be. Amelia has a memory like an elephant. She remembers stopping at coffee places, visiting restaurants, and almost every park we've been to.
Has she never been to a park before?
I realize Amelia is referencing Piper wanting to try new things, and I almost laugh. But then I realize I'd have to explain to her that Piper and I are kind of dating, and I'm not sure how to do that yet. Nor am I completely sure I'm ready, so I divert. "Well, I'm sure she's been to a park, but not with us. Is it okay that she comes?" Amelia shrugs.
"Sure, she seems nice, and I'll probably be playing on the playground a lot, so you might get lonely."
I nod as if she said the most profound thing in the world. That's exactly what I was thinking.
"That's because we think alike, Daddy,"
she says, as if this is the most obvious thing in the world. "I guess we do." I quickly take a sip of my coffee to hide my smile. I don't want Amelia to think I'm laughing at her.
"Can I watch some Smurfs until it's time to go?"
I'm not sure exactly when or where Amelia was introduced to the Smurfs, I may have Chris to thank for that, but she's been obsessed with them for the last few months. The DVR is set to record every episode, which she'll sometimes watch 2 or 3 times, and I even searched out the series on Netflix. I found the old Smurfs, which were still around in reruns in my childhood, but she said they were too different from the new ones. I don't know how Smurfs can be that different, but I'm not 5. Sure, I say, and she scampers off to the living room to indulge her addiction. I busy myself with tidying up small piles I had let slide during the week, and before I know it, the doorbell is ringing. A smile tugs at the corners of my lips as I open the door. Piper stands on the other side, looking very much like herself in demeanor, but like someone else entirely in attire. Instead of her normal button-down dress shirt, a flowy tank top adorns her chest, and her tan slacks have been replaced with denim shorts that show off her shapely legs. Those must have been a genetic blessing, because I know Piper doesn't work out much. I step back to let her in. You look nice. Did Belle help you again today? She grimaces and shakes her head. Unfortunately not. Today it was Hannah. I would actually prefer Belle, as she would simply choose the appropriate outfit and hand it to me, but Hannah had to opine on how I should dress opposite of my personality in order to try and stretch my comfort zone. I press my lips together to keep from laughing. That sounds very analytical. I figured that would be right up your alley. I analyze data and facts, not people like she does. Well, regardless, you look nice, and you'll probably be more comfortable than if you'd shown up in your regular work attire. Piper shrugs. I suppose that is a logical assessment, considering the weather is supposed to be warm today. I looked it up before I left the apartment, and it said the high was 75, which isn't quite as warm as I thought, but hopefully I won't be too exposed in shorts. However, meteorologists are wrong 53% of the time, so there is the chance that it will be warmer or cooler. This time, I can't stop the smile that splits my lips. Piper is so matter-of-fact sometimes that it really is endearing. You'll be fine. I'm bringing an extra blanket just in case, and I'll grab a light jacket you can use if it cools down. That would be nice. Thank you. Amelia, time to go, I holler as I grab the basket and the blanket. On the way out, I grab 2 light jackets just in case. Then we load up my car.
Daddy, can I run to the playground?
Amelia asks as soon as we arrive. She has so much pent-up energy that she is literally bouncing in her seat. I scan the area to make sure no one seems suspicious and then nod. Like a rocket, Amelia bolts the 40 feet or so to the playground and then climbs up the giant net and begins talking to some girl who's also there. She appears to make friends easily, Piper says, as she follows me to a nearby grassy spot to lay out the basket. I chuckle. Yeah, she's always been like that. I hope it's a trait she keeps, and not just a childhood thing. I turn to look at her. Were you different as a kid? More spontaneous and outgoing, I mean? David is the therapist, but I've talked with him enough to know that things can happen to people along the way to cause dramatic personality shifts, and I wonder if that's what happened to Piper, or if she's always been an introvert. She shakes her head. No, I was never the outgoing type. I always preferred books to people. My siblings would play outside with the neighbor kids, and I would sit in my room and read. My mother had to force me outside most days. In fact, the few times I got in trouble, she had to ground me not from my room, but from my books. I can see that. I look back at Amelia laughing and chasing the other girl around the playground. I hope she gets some of that too as she gets older. She's only in preschool now, but it's important to me that she enjoys school. I think it's so beneficial to be a lifelong learner. I shake out the blanket and sit down. Piper follows suit, though she still looks out of her element. Do you consider yourself one, a lifelong learner? I try to be. It's a bit more challenging when you have a kid, as she takes up a lot of my free time. but I do try when she's in bed for the night. I always find it fun to research new software and try to come up with my own ideas. I press my lips together as I think about how to phrase my next question. Do you think that will be an issue for you? I lift my eyes and Piper blinks at me. An issue? What do you mean? That I have a kid already, that my time may be limited. I didn't know Ian, but I didn't get the feeling that he was a dad. He probably had more time to devote to dating. I don't want this to be a problem for her, but I do want to be honest. Having a kid means being a lot less selfish, and sometimes it will mean that I have to cancel dates or be choosy in how I spend my time. Piper tilts her head and watches Amelia for a few minutes. I don't say anything because I know she's thinking. She's probably creating a mental pro and con list in her head. Finally, she takes a deep breath and lets it out. Not a sigh per se, but it carries weight. I'm not accustomed to being around children, but I don't think it would be an issue. I suppose time will tell in that area. However, even though he had no children that I'm aware of, Ian didn't make a lot of time for dates, so that won't be an issue for me. In fact, I have so little experience dating that I'm not even sure what the appropriate amount of time would be. These words break my heart, and I can't help reaching over to grab her hand. I'm sorry that more men haven't seen what you have to offer, and I'm honored that I get to spend time with you. She looks down at our hands and then up at me. I can't name the expression, couldn't describe it if I tried, but there's something in her eyes that makes me want to kiss her. Forgetting for a moment that we are in a public park and that my daughter is within eyesight, I begin to lean forward. But before I touch her lips, a scream pierces the air and I jump back. My father's instinct knows the scream belongs to my daughter, and I turn to see what's happened.